Woo-hoo-hoo. And we are live on a Friday. We're LinkedIn for Authors Masterclass, and I have a friend in the house today. And we're just going to be talking about just the importance of networking and power networking and how to do everything of getting people out of the comments, into the DMs, and then offline into Zoom meetings, maybe even in-person meetings, telephone calls, you name it. So I have the wonderful Debbie Weems in the house today, who has literally written the book on networking from the ground up. So I have to put a plug in for a book because it's a brilliant book. And yay! And Debbie, she is the queen of this. And one of the reasons why I had her come on today is I am constantly seeing Debbie on, Zoom little snapshots of I had a Zoom with this person, I had a Zoom with that person. And I thought, we all need to be doing this more. And Debbie knows how to do it. So Debbie, before we get stuck in, can you just briefly tell people who you are and what you do, and then we will start rocking.
Well, thank you, Jillian. I'm so happy to be here. I love this Friday. I was waiting for it. So oh my gosh, I'll make it the Reader's Digest version. So from New England, came down to Florida after the blizzard of '78. And so those of you up there will remember that storm. And I was raised on everything winter. And I said, okay, that's enough. I'm going to the Sunshine State. And I've been here ever since. I've had a couple of different careers. 9 years in hospitality. That means bartending and waitressing. And then I did 23 years in nonprofit work, all in Palm Beach County, Florida. And I can say with a smile, I lost my job at 57. And that gave me opportunities that I wouldn't change anything. I reinvented myself, found LinkedIn as a job seeker at 57, divorced, 2 kids in college. Yeah, not a good time, but I discovered LinkedIn and I really, really like the platform. And lo and behold, it's called Reinventing Yourself. I just celebrated 15 years in business with 3 awesome women that are on my team. And they've all been with me for 5, 7, and 8 years. So I think I'm doing something right. And we just still love what we do. So I love networking. I am all about it. And I have to say, if you ever want to write a book, get this lady over here to be your collaborator. She's awesome, and her partner Devin is really good too.
Wonderful, wonderful. And so, literally, Debbie, you can say I've written the book on networking. So
Yes,
that is your tagline now. You could get a T-shirt with that on it, and so I love it. And so here's the problem, folks. And by the way, please tell us where you're coming from today. And if you have questions, I encourage you to put those in the chat because we're here for an hour. So we want to make sure that we're getting people's questions answered. So here's the problem is that most of us get on LinkedIn and we connect. Maybe we follow people and we find that, okay, we've got all these connections, but that's not networking. It's collecting. We're collecting a bunch of people that we're connected with. But if we want to actually do what Debbie does, which is networking, which is basically growing your network and looking at the people and not just having, oh, yes, I have, 10,000 connections. Well, if you're not connecting with those people, they're not really connections. So Debbie, why don't you give us the Reader's Digest version of what's happening? Like what are these wrong expectations of like, oh, we build up this network, but it's not doing anything for us. It's not going anywhere.
I want to take you back to about 6 years ago when that little incident called COVID kicked in. Pre-COVID, we did everything in person. COVID shut us down in a hard, fast way. And I think part of the issue now is we're spoiled, online, everything. I know I'm spoiled rotten if I have to drive somewhere now to do a presentation or fly somewhere. But really, I think it changed a lot of things, all the obvious stuff. But along the way, I think people got lazy a little bit. And and I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it, as you fall in love with LinkedIn, because a lot of people do. I'm guilty. I love the idea still of connecting with people anywhere in the world at any level in any industry and be able to develop these business relationships. I still am enamored by it. So yes, I do love this platform. But as you get into it, we are all collecting connections in the beginning. And if you want to do something really constructive with your time on this site and all the efforts you're making, you're going to understand that what you can do on this platform, and I don't care what your service or product is, you can find your target market on LinkedIn anywhere at any time. And you have to decide what you want to do with those targets when you do connect with them. Do you want to take it up a few notches? And there's so many ways to do that on this platform. So many ways. I know we're going to talk a lot about that. But I think people sometimes get a little lazy. And, you can call it what you want. With posting, there's people that still post and ghost. They put up, it looks great, and they never come back to it. Miss all those opportunities of people, liking it or commenting. Whew, I hope people get over that real quick and all learn that you need to pay attention to what you're doing. But with connections, if people are on, I'm sorry, warp speed, because yes, I'm guilty. It's hard sometimes to actually remember, go back and acknowledge those connections. So that's something I've really had to drill into myself. It's great to connect. That's just the beginning, and with certain people you connect with, you're going to know which ones you really want to take further. It might be the hottest target you've seen yet, that they need your product or service. They can use your expertise. That that's the company I want to work for, and there's ways to take it into a deeper level of relationship building. And I think people have gotten lazy. I really do. Because it's too easy to just go on to the next thing on LinkedIn. You've got your little schedule for the day. My little schedule is way too packed. There are not enough blank spaces between those lives, phone calls, Zooms. Now today I gave myself a break. I think I've got 2 calls after this live because I'm going to spend an hour after the live going back through the live and commenting, back to people to acknowledge how appreciative I am that they're even attending this call. And I can rattle on for another hour, but let's get started with that maybe.
Okay. I think that's really, really good. And speaking of getting started with that, this is the first time, folks, I am going to do a poll. And this is new to StreamYard. I'm hoping everybody can see it. And so if you type in 1, 2, or 3 into the chat, hopefully it will do something. I've never done this before. So it says, what's your biggest LinkedIn networking challenge? So number 1 is knowing who to reach out to. Number 2 is moving past the small talk. And number 3 is DMs into real conversations. So, you're chatting with somebody in the DM and then getting into a real conversation, whatever that means to you. That could be a Zoom, that could be a phone call, that could be an email, that could be a collaboration. I know many of my podcast guests all start from a DM. I rarely accept somebody through, just a standard email. I don't have a thing on my website that says, here, click here to be a guest or anything. They all start with a conversation in the DMs. So that's just something to think about. So I don't know if this works. We'll see if this works. I think I've got it going. So we'll see. Maybe I can even move it up here to the top. I don't know. We'll see when. Hang on. Okay. Look at that. Things are happening. Things are happening. So that's kind of cool. So that's very cool. Thank you everybody for taking part in this. And we'll just kind of see how this keeps going. I'll let it go for a couple minutes. So as we're talking about that, I'll see if I'm intelligent enough to show a banner at the same time that I'm running a poll. Yes, I can do. It's like chewing gum and walking. Can Jillian do it?
Did you have any doubt? Did you have any doubt, really?
Well, I didn't know if it would stay. And look at that. It just showed. Okay. So the question is, who's actually worth moving from a comment to a DM. So you see a comment. It could be on your post. Why is this timing out? Okay, this has a really weird, sorry, this has a timer and I want to take the timer off. Okay. I'm sorry, StreamYard is getting a little squirrely with so many different features. So basically, here's the thing, Debbie. I'm seeing somebody in the comments. It could be on my post, it could be on another people's post. And I think that's a good thing to keep in mind, everybody, is that you can get to know people on other people's posts. It's not just about who's commenting on mine. It could just be, oh, I'm commenting on somebody's post, they're commenting back, and we're going back and forth. So Debbie, at what point do we say, I need to get this out of the comments into a DM? I might be connected to them and I might not be connected into them. So that might be two different, roadmaps, whatever. But what do you have to say about this?
This is, frankly, I think I learned this from our friend Jeff Young, a long time ago. Read the whole thread on a post, because that absolutely can lead you to seeing the interaction from other people, whether they're connected or not. I can't tell you how many times I have taken a comment on someone's post, whoever's, mine, yours, or whoever, and I liked what the person offered for input to add value to the post. And I thought, let me check this person out. And I will go over to their profile and scour that in a matter of minutes, and come back. And if I haven't connected to them, that is a technique I use all the time. I'll mention the comment they made. Hey, I found, we haven't met, but I found your comment on so-and-so's post really interesting. I'd like to connect and expand our networks. There, that's my standard invitation without too much thought. But when to move it to a DM, I want to connect first. I want to make sure we're connected. And then, depending on what's being talked about, toss back and forth in the comment thread. If I see something in someone's comment that makes me think further, oh, this person might know somebody in this area that I need to know. So let me switch this off to a private conversation. I'm looking for value. I am always looking for value, not just from what I can get from people, but from what I can offer them. And honestly, to me, that's the fun part. If I ID something in someone's comment and I immediately think of somebody that they should know or some event that they should attend, because, I do a lot of local networking.
Yep.
That's just the way my brain is wired. I want to help people, but it is a two-way street. Oh boy, is it a two-way street. And when it's not, it gets awkward. I had a little incident of that recently, and it was a humongous waste of time. Thankfully, it was only like 25 minutes, but I can do a lot in 25 minutes, and the person misrepresented themselves, and I got sucked right into a Zoom, and I ended it. I don't mess around. I'm sorry. I don't like my time wasted, and I sure as heck don't like wasting someone else's time. But basically, I'm looking for how can we help each other. I think it really depends on who you're looking for on LinkedIn and what your activity involves at the time. We're always looking for event planners for the big conferences.
Right.
Because I love to travel, and really there's so much going on LinkedIn with the feed at any given time. Numerous topics are being talked about, tossed around. It's just not unusual to run across a comment that catches my eye, makes me go to their profile, makes me invite them to connect. And, frankly, there's hardly anybody that says no to me when I ask them to connect. I have the beauty of, unlimited connection requests that have a note attached.
Because you're on premium. And that's, and that's the thing, that if you're on the free plan, you've only got your 3, but maybe if you've commented intelligently enough on that person, and you've had the going back and forth, they'll say, oh, I know her. And they'll go ahead because I'm on free. And that's what I do. I comment enough and then I ask them to connect. And then I would send them the DM and kind of continue the conversation.
Absolutely. That's great. I love that. And our strategy specifically for people on basic is to get into reacting, commenting, engage with the person that you really want to connect with. Stalk them in a nice professional way,
Right.
and go into their posting, find something to go back and forth on. When you get their attention and they acknowledge your comment, you can come right back into the thread and say, hey, I'm really enjoying this conversation. Would you please look for my invitation to connect?
Mm.
We're actually coaching that way, and people are doing it, and they're getting connected because they don't have a choice. If they're on basic, shame on LinkedIn. They're going to monetize however they want to, but cutting it from unlimited to 10 to 6 to 3, I'm like, really,
It's crazy. It's crazy. But I think that's a good way. And then, I always kind of look at it too, Debbie, that it's like, I'm looking for many different people that if I'm having a conversation in the comments, that I would actually, also send them to competitors, because I don't see competitors as necessarily being competitors, because maybe we could be collaborators. I can't service everyone. So I need to have people that I can refer people to. And then there's also sort of your extended, I think I almost call them your extended family of like, I like to get to know editors. I like to know graphic designers for book covers. I like to know lots of people that I know could help my clients that maybe I can't, or that's just not what I want to do, or I want to give them choices or whatever. So it's not always like, oh, I want this person to work with me. Of course we should do that, but maybe think bigger, because sometimes the collaborators can lead you to referrals, which gives you new clients as well. So, that to me is another reason of, oh, this person is worth getting to know. And then a lot of times they end up becoming my podcast guests too.
Yeah.
So I'm always on the lookout for, okay, who kind of is in the book industry? Who's another author? And then you can kind of go from there. So, I think that's good. And so, Debbie, if you look at our poll, what do you think of this? Okay, so it was, what was your biggest LinkedIn networking challenge? And it was the hands down 75% DMs to the real conversation. So right. I'm hoping we just we kind of answered that question. So I think that's really good. So with that, what I'm going to do is I am going to turn off the banner and I am going to hop over to comments, and let's see who's joining us here today, because I love the comments. I love the comments. So we've got Jeff Young, who always shows me we're working on YouTube, and he was in the front row on YouTube, greeting ladies from YouTube land. So there's Jeff. We have a LinkedIn user. We don't know who it is, but that's okay. We still are glad they're here. Dawn Christie is here, ready for the power hour. Jillian and Debbie, thank you for joining us, Dawn. Yolanda is here. Hello, Jillian. I love it. And Yolanda is saying hello to everyone else. This is, again, a great example of a networking opportunity. You come to a LinkedIn Live like this. You all are having shared interest. Every one of you should be commenting and sending a DM to each other. Don't you think, Debbie? Like,
absolutely.
This is the ultimate homework. Everybody here should network with everybody else here. Make sure you connect and send a DM. And I'm going to give you a homework. Send a DM to anybody here, as many as you possibly can, and say, here was my biggest takeaway. Just not to me, not to Debbie, just, although you can email us. We'd like a DM too, but just say, this was my biggest takeaway. What was yours? What an easy conversation to start, right?
And Jeff Young needs to make a whole lot more popcorn.
Yes, he does. He does. So our lovely Scott, Craig Allen is in the house today. He says, "Okay, you can start now
Yay.
that I'm here." I love that. And of course, we have Jeff saying hi to. So back and forth. We have Yolanda, and she's saying hi to both of us now, and we love it. Craig's
That's
just
second
popping in
Scott's
here with
name.
all his little comments. We've got El Mott. She wants the popcorn. Everybody wants the popcorn. And I love this because it is truly a little party here, just back and forth, back and forth.
Hey,
We're okay. Oh, congratulations, probably on your book, Debbie. So I think that's great.
yes, and thank you, you guys. And
Yes.
I gotta shout out Ricardo. That is a very sweet comment. Thank you so much.
Which
Uh,
one was that? Have we got there yet?
Ricardo Germillo. I don't think you're there yet.
Okay,
Sorry,
okay.
a little
So
ahead of you.
we have Linda Jane Turner. I love it. She's coming in from Prague. Who, by the way, she's starting to see the Secret of Secrets filming going on of Dan Brown's book. So I'm so
Ooh,
excited for her. Keisha is here. She's from Kansas City. So thank you. We love our Kansas City folk. I love Kansas City. Bonnie, Scotland, and congrats on the book. Oh, Mike Wesley's here from Kansas City. Hey, Mike, thanks for popping in. I love it. And Sue Griffey is here. I made it home. So I am team live and I have my Jillian purple pom poms waving, even if no one can see them. I love Sue and her pom poms. By the way, Sue is working on her book. So that's coming soon. That's coming soon. I'm so excited for her. Elle says, "Hi, all. I'm here from the Kentucky burbs near Cincinnati." Okay, here's Ricardo. "I love Debbie. She changed my life after she helped me with LinkedIn." Wow.
so
Okay,
nice.
Debbie, take it away. What's the story? You got to tell the
Oh, good
story.
Lord. Now you're going to put me on the spot. I work with a lot of different people. And Ricardo, I'm going to try to guess. And I think it's been a couple of years. Um, I've been told more than once that I am almost a therapist sometimes,
Mm.
especially when I'm working with people in transition. And if they've been at it and they've been through the trenches, and yeah, it's still going on now. We all know it. It doesn't get any easier. But having reflected on my own experience, I do a lot of storytelling from, sharing with some of these people what I've been through, and what's possible with a little bit of a mindset change, which is not always easy to do. Um, I'm going to screenshot that right there and save it.
I
I
love
really
it.
appreciate it. No matter how much time has passed, that's just really a super nice thing to say, Ricardo. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Anne is here from another person from Kansas City. Oh, it's like we just stopped off the bus and we went to Kansas City. We have so many Kansas cities. So Sue Griffey says, "Debbie, being able to connect globally is so important. Look at how information exchange is accessible in any country now. And I can have video meetings in many countries that didn't have the bandwidth pre-COVID." So wow, that's actually a really great point. And I think that's, the key here is that, we have this ability to meet with everybody virtually. Sometimes you actually do end up having an offline meeting and you go out for a coffee with somebody in your hometown or something, which is nice. But probably maybe 95% of the time you're going to meet with people virtually, but we have the technology. We have the technology to do this. And so this is probably a really good segue, Debbie, to kind of go through and then say, okay, so how okay, so we talked about moving the comments to the DMs. So okay, before we do that one, I want to talk about your strategy. Okay, so we're now in the DMs. I've got them out of the comments. I've got somebody in the DMs. I wait for other people, but I know I need to do better than that. So Debbie, how do I initiate okay, you know what? We should have a virtual coffee. What's the strategy? Because I think most of us are like, ah.
I love LinkedIn messaging. I love it, and nowhere near enough people take advantage of it. Um, and you got to use this little device,
Mm.
and it's a 1 minute opportunity to leave a voicemail for somebody. And there's so many people that don't even know this is, and it's been around for a few years. Um, but there's so many people that say, "Oh, I don't think I want to do that." I'm like, "Why not?" It's you're going to let people hear your voice, number one, and that is, to me, it's another step closer to the person. Let them hear your voice. And I use the name pronunciation on my profile. Probably not the way
Mm.
LinkedIn wants me to. It's supposed to be for your pronunciation. Well, it was made for me. So I say my name, but 10 seconds goes by really fast, but that is another opportunity for people to hear your voice. And for me, I change it every month to spotlight something we're doing in the month super fast. But the DMs are great. Sorry, the voice messaging is great because now hopefully you connected, you've gone into DMs. And yes, the next thing for me, a phone call or a Zoom.
Okay.
And this is going to strike some people as maybe a little different. Um, but I don't invest 30 minutes with somebody on a Zoom unless I really have a purpose or something to offer that person that's going to help them. There's a lot of people that just they want to jump on a half-hour Zoom. Mm, Give me a reason, really.
Okay.
I'll do a 15-minute phone call with pretty much anybody. It's on the back of my
Okay.
business
That's good
card.
to know.
They can do a 15-minute profile review with no obligation. So I do those almost every day, and it's a quick, easy way to offer help to somebody with nothing expected in return. Um, and oftentimes, the two or three things we do in 15 minutes prompts them to want to know more. Okay,
Right.
that's another lead in to business. But developing relationships takes time. And forever, that has always been a challenge for a lot of people that we work with. They don't want to take the time, especially, I'm sorry, salespeople, you know, and selling is not selling. And there's a friend of ours overseas that made a whole TED talk about that. Um, Oh my God, I'm having a senior moment here trying to remember names from Clubhouse.
Jules White. Jules
Thank
White.
you. Thank you. Sorry, Jules. But it's true. If you learn that selling is not selling, put yourself in there. Get to know people, act like a human being. You can use AI too, but act like a human being. And the voice messaging gets you closer by letting them hear your voice. Pinpoint something that you can have a really, a fun or engaging conversation about. And, if you get to that point, then yes, set up a half-hour Zoom. I love Zoom calls. And you've seen a couple of the ones I've had recently. You're about to see a few more in the next couple of weeks. Every time I go to a conference, this happens when we start a conversation, really getting into it, run out of time. Okay, let's carry this on with a Zoom after we both get home and get settled. And Zooming is the next best thing to being there.
Yes.
It is. And look what happened with you and I.
Yep. Yep.
Okay, and that was because of the traveling I do and the stops all the time in Dallas to change planes. And our friend Kevin Turner and Dana. I mean, that evolved over a number of years of him knowing that I always ended up going through Dallas to connect to get home to West Palm from San Diego. We think we've done 8 San Diego conferences with the Mortgage Bankers Association, which near and dear to my heart. We love working with people from there, and it's just been a delightful relationship. But he used to live in Dallas, real close to the airport. Well, by the time, we got to know each other well enough, and he said, you work hard. Why don't you take a couple extra days and come up and spend some time with Dana and I? Well, he had moved close to the airport anymore. And the first time they actually drove in to the airport, I had a few hours in between, and it was really fun because they drove into the airport. They told me exactly where to go for happy hour. And
Love it.
the three of us met for a drink or two, whatever, before my next flight to go home. And then the next time was a couple of years later. Uh, and it was awesome. I Ubered up to their house and stayed a couple of days. And Kevin has this really, really neat antique. Oh, come on, Debbie. What car is it? I want to say Porsche. I'm not sure if it was a Porsche. Sorry, Kevin. Um, anyway, he ended up driving me back to the airport when I had to go home.
Oh, how fun.
That's a real relationship. And did it
And
happen
I
fast?
drove up to see you. And I
And
drove
oh
up
my
to see you
God, the
for lunch.
crowning treat. Doorbell rings. I'm having coffee in another room, and hey, Debbie, come here for a minute. And I'm like, okay. And I go out to the front door, and there's Jillian and her husband standing there, completely unexpected. And I was like, what? And I knew you guys did not live close.
No,
So how far
we
did you
were
drive?
it's a 4 hour
3 hours?
drive. 4 hour drive.
And the five of us spent the day in Grapevine. I love Grapevine and that little bookstore that we found, because Jillian can't go anywhere without either going to the local library or a bookstore. And it was great fun. But I mean, okay, so now I'm staying with Kevin and Dana, and then the icing on the cake was spending a whole day with Jillian and Devin. We had a great lunch at a place downtown Grapevine. The whole day went by really fast, and you had just published one of your books, and you had brought a copy for me, and you signed it, and I was so excited. A couple of years later, I'm signing my book.
There you go. So
you
that
know,
that that kind of shows you what real LinkedIn relationships look like, which all starts with a DM. Yeah, and so it's like you just go, okay, a DM leads to a Zoom. Zooms lead to I'm traveling through your town. I'll see you. I went to see Craig, so Craig's here. We did a trip from London to Edinburgh
I
just to see
can't wait to
Craig.
go to Scotland.
So that's the
Absolutely.
furthest I've ever traveled for anybody is what I traveled to go see Craig. And we spent a day together and it was fabulous. So it just kind of shows you what can happen. So if we kind of go back down, Debbie, because I want to make sure this is really helpful for folks. So we're sitting here looking at our DMs. We have potential people that could be clients. Maybe they could be collaborators, colleagues, whatever. They're people I don't quite know yet. So I'm trying to make the decision. When do I suggest the Zoom and when do I not? Like, how do I figure that out? And should I say, I want to Zoom with you because now I just heard that you're like, well, there has to be a reason. I'm just going to hop on a call for no reason. So how do I need to frame that Zoom invite? And who do I figure out, when it's the right time?
Sure. It's like meeting people in real life. I meet tons of people in person. I met a few new people last night at a local networking event. Am I going to invite them over, to Sunday dinner or whatever? It's relationship building. I think that and this particular person I'm thinking of, we have a call this afternoon, a 15-minute phone call. All right, it's Friday. I'm a movie nut. I am going to see 2 movies this weekend, but I mean, we find things in common. Okay, as far as when do you go from DM to a Zoom? You just have to let the conversation move and build and, find things in common, find things that you can help each other with. And I'm going by strictly relationship building. I am not thinking of, I'm going to coach that person on LinkedIn someday. No, I don't think of it that way at all anymore. I just don't. Because I've learned that the further you back away from being any kind of a salesperson, the more people are going to like you. Nobody wants to be pitched, whether it's in a LinkedIn invitation to connect or, at the end of a Zoom that's supposed to be a get to know you friendly call. Going back to the one I earlier referenced, 5 minutes into the Zoom, I was being told all the latest stuff that they were doing that
Mm,
could help me, and I'm like, okay. Um, I think you're going to know based on the communication that you've got going on already. You might have a few DMs back and forth, and I'm still an advocate. Throw a 1 minute voice message in there,
yep.
as one of your responses if you haven't done it already. Pay attention to what that person has coming up. I pay attention all the time to events, whether they're local or if I've been in industries enough to know other things that are going on, trade shows that they might benefit from, particularly if they're coming into the city that they're in.
Mm,
There's so many ways that you can be helpful and let the person know that you are human, you are helpful, you're friendly, you're sincere. Hello, you're trustworthy. That saying is older than I am. People like to do business with people they know, like, and trust. Can you build trust in a 10-minute call? No. Can you do it in a post that goes back and forth a few times? No. You have to be willing to spend the time to develop the relationship. So you find different ways during the time that you're going back and forth, whether it's a call, a Zoom, in writing, at a local event, whatever, you find ways to be helpful to that person.
got it.
You
Okay.
find ways. I've got a huge database of people now. I've got a list of 3 people right now who are in transition, and I've offered to go through my database and make some introductions for them. One
Mm,
of them I have not worked with in 5 years. Another one, I've never really worked with her. But I know that I've got people in my database that would be helpful to all 3 of those. They all happen to be women. Um, yeah, I'm isolating 90 minutes of my time out of my workday to write introductions through email, and that's the way I do
wow.
it.
Wow.
A lot of people do it right on LinkedIn. That's fine depending on the scenario. But I'm trying to put 2 strangers together that I know would be really beneficial. And I'm trying to do it in a non-assuming manner. And it takes me time to put that verbiage together so that nobody's like, what's the bottom line? What's the motive here?
Right.
Because this is my reputation on the line, my integrity, and I've got it established with the person that this email is going to. And now I'm trying to introduce a stranger. And sometimes I'm trying to come back into their picture, having not spoken to them
Mm,
in 3 or 4 years. It's not easy to do, and it doesn't always work, but I make an effort. And that's always appreciated by the people that stand to benefit from making the connection. Um,
I agree with that. I agree with that.
it's worth the 90 minutes, always,
I
always.
like that.
Do stuff like that.
And that's a good thing to even think about when you're going into a Zoom is what kind of gift could you give them? And sometimes the gift could be, hey, I have a good article or, whatever, or here's somebody I recommend following. It's like you obviously, this is your interest. I know these people. I think they would really be good. I could introduce you to them, or you might want to follow them, or, just think about what sort of takeaway you can give to somebody that's not just a list of like, okay, here's my price list. Because it's not always about working with you. It's just creating that little bit of goodwill. So Debbie, what are your recommendations for these sort of first time things? Do you think we should do it like a discovery call, just kind of say 15 minutes and, keep it to that? Because you could always stay on longer if you want, but like
Yeah,
15 minutes is kind of a not too much intrusive of your day.
yeah, I agree. I do like that strategy, and that's what we use most of the time. And yeah, a lot of times it'll go a little longer than 15 minutes. So, it's all good.
And do you recommend sending your link, or I heard somebody once say, don't be so bold and send your link, that instead you should say, would you like to send me, shall I send you my calendar link, or would you like to send me yours? Do you think there's a difference? Does that matter?
Well, what happened recently? And first of all, my link is on the homepage of our website,
Okay.
so there it is. Um, but I had somebody reach out to me. It turned out to be 2018 that we had connected. We had never worked together. We met at a local networking event and didn't really have a lot in common. Whatever. We never developed a relationship. It's one of those many people, everybody's got them, that I connected with. And if I go to messaging with his profile now, there's nothing there. We never really did anything after we
Mm,
met. So comes back in, haven't talked for a while. Like to get you caught up on a few things, like to ask you a few questions. I'm like, sure, and I gave him my 15-minute link through LinkedIn messaging. And he picked a time and he never followed through. I called him, he wasn't there, got the voicemail. And like 2 days later, got the reason why. Okay, can we try again? I said, sure. So I gave him the link again. All right, this time he set up a call. Then he sent me an invitation to a Zoom at the same time from him. And I was like, what are you doing? So we had two things on the calendar: phone call, Zoom. I never accepted the Zoom invitation. He accepted the phone call. And then I got a confirmation the day before that I was going to do a Zoom with him. And this time I messaged him in LinkedIn and I said, so and so, you're confusing my calendar. I initiated after you reached out to me. I will call you at such and such time. And it wasn't necessary to go through all that. But I always want to start with a 15-minute call and then go from there. And it's not
that,
hard to do. It's not hard to find something to talk about for 15 minutes if you've looked at their profile. And I know so many people don't do that still, Jillian.
mm,
you
and
know,
maybe that's the caution. Maybe it's like before you even say yes to somebody, whether you are going to do, make sure you've gone through their profile. So you don't go into it blind.
yeah.
Go into it and just say, is there any value in this or not? Like be honest with yourself before you do that.
You know what else that just came to mind? Because this came out, I revised. I try to do a customized presentation for every conference, whatever. Um, and what came out about networking, because I'm always trying to draw stuff from my book. Don't forget that if you're hesitant about networking, probably half the people in the room, if it's an event, are feeling the same way.
Mm.
They are not bubbling over with confidence either. And sometimes it helps to remember that, um, because that is what it's about. I think is feeling confident enough to say hello to strangers. And you know where I get lots of practice at that? If I'm in line anywhere, waiting, whether it's the grocery store or a retail store or the post office. And I have a great story in my book about the post office. And, I say hello to people. If we're just standing there waiting, they're just as bored as I am, and a lot of people don't do that. And sometimes they're even like a little put off thinking, what's this girl want? And I just say hello, and I do it a lot. So when I go to a networking event, it's just not difficult for me to say hello to everybody that's in front of me, you know.
And then
Be
really,
human.
if you bring that back to LinkedIn, it's the same thing. Like
Mhm.
think of your DMs as this like, okay, I have all these people. Think of it as like you're sitting at a cocktail party or a networking event and you don't know if they're sitting there kind of going, I would love to Zoom with people, but I don't know who to Zoom with. So maybe we need to be like Julie, the social, the cruise director of the Love Boat. Welcome them. And that
I haven't thought
maybe
about her for years.
I know probably dates me, the Love Boat. Who's ever heard of the Love Boat? You have to be over a certain age to hear of the Love Boat. But
Oh
it's
my
that
God.
idea that other people could actually be so thrilled you've reached out to them. I remember once I had just a link out. I call them link outs when you just kind of go from LinkedIn to, meeting them on Zoom. And they said, this is the first time anybody ever asked me to meet. And I was like, wow. Wow, here I'm sitting here nervous that I'm even asking you to meet, and no one has ever asked you before. And so maybe that's it, Debbie. It's like, put that social cruise director hat on of welcoming people. And maybe that's how we have to think about the LinkedIn DMs. Like, even the fact that I have people I have never had a conversation with, but I'm connected with. It doesn't matter that it's been 2 years. Maybe I should just send them a DM and say, you know what, this is silly. We have been connected for 2 years and I don't know anything about you. Make sure I've read their profile so I don't go and ask them something stupid, but then just say, hey, I see that you are in marketing, and what's doing for you on LinkedIn? How are you here? How are you using LinkedIn in your business? I don't know. Just start a conversation. What do you think about that, Debbie?
No, I love that. I love that. Because people are feeling the same. They really are. And you're being human. I can't emphasize that enough. Be authentic. And Jules talked a lot about that.
Yes.
And it's a good lesson to learn, especially with everything coming in everywhere with AI, including into LinkedIn everywhere.
Yes.
You just have to remember that people are human, bottom line, and they have the same sensitivity, the same doubts, the same hesitations, that you have. And put them at ease. Be yourself.
I love that. I love that.
When I launched my business, I was terrified. And after I got it going, and after I was like, hello, knock me in the head. I had been networking for years and, pretty quickly caught on to that's what building relationships is all about. And that's what LinkedIn is all about. And just keep networking, keep doing the same thing you did IRL for years, and when I come across a real introvert, I'm very cognizant that that's the way they are. So I don't want to go crazy suggesting stuff that's completely out of their comfort zone, but what could be easier than sitting back wherever with LinkedIn and, reaching out to people to connect with them. You don't have to talk to them. You don't have to look at them. They're on a screen, you're on a screen. And you just start that way. If you're a real introvert, you start easy and then you build up from there.
I love that. I love that. So I see Craig's he's got a long comment next, but Craig is talking about Dunbar's numbers, which is kind of something I know. I think I learned about this from Jeff Young. And he says, Robin Dunbar claimed that as humans, we can only realistically maintain a maximum of 1,500 people we generally recognized. And see, it goes on. And he claims that as humans, 1,500 people, give or take, I guess, -5. This is really long and complex, but basically, I think the idea, that's a long comment. And I think basically the idea is we have a limited bandwidth. And so I know a lot of people on LinkedIn, they might have, I don't know, Jeff, I'll use Jeff Young as I think Jeff's like over 40,000. I don't know if he's up to 50,000, but I think he's 40,000 by now. That's a lot of followers, but Jeff doesn't have that many connections because he doesn't connect with everybody. Followers are different than connections on LinkedIn. So you don't have to have permission to follow somebody, but you have to have permission to be connected with them. They have to accept your invite or they have to invite you, either or. And so I think really what Craig's saying is that, we have to be cognizant that we really can only have so many relationships And that is an important thing to keep in mind.
Can I mention something since you brought it
Sure.
up? Following versus connect, because I
Okay.
think this is really important. You know, as LinkedIn continue to grow by leaps and bounds, and as soon as they mentioned a billion members, you know, those of us in our circle and elsewhere that do LinkedIn coaching around the world, we know full well that there's millions of fake profiles out there.
Right.
And I really think that everything they're trying to do to mm, prove that people are real people and not bots and all, the ID verification is important. But as far as, you know, you can choose if you want to have a connect button on your profile or if you want a blue button that says follow. And I'm sure I got this from Jeff Young, you know, because I thought, why would you just want people to follow you? Well, there's a really good reason. In my mind, this is my reason because you'll see that on my profile. It'll say follow. I want to check you out. I want to see you. I want to see specifically what you're posting about and how you're engaging with people on this platform because I have worked my butt off to get to the number of connections that I have. I have a couple of thousand followers. The rest of them, they are connections. And I vet everybody because if you are ranting and raving, politics, religion, whatever, if you are being negative in any way, shape, or manner, you can just
Spammy,
you can just
spammy,
follow me. What's that?
or
Oh,
spammy.
spamming. Yeah, yeah. Then fine, follow me. But I'm not bringing you into my network. I don't want your stuff being fed through my network's home pages or feeds. And I think that's a really good reason to have people follow. Um, and I also agree because I was amazed when I found out how many is, but it's a good reason, you know. And he has his strategies and reasons, and I have mine. But I do like the idea of checking people out before you bring their stuff into your network. Um, and I like follow versus connect, you know, and that works for me, and it works well. I'm keeping mine the way it is. Um,
I like it too.
yeah,
And I think that the other thing, I think you do need to be choosy with who you let into your network because they're not just getting access to you, they're getting access to your network. And I
right.
think that that's the important thing. And you just never know, I've had people that have said, "Oh, somebody came to me and they said so and so's telling people that like they you sent him to us," and it's like I didn't send him to you. So he was just connected to me and using me as this like gateway to other people, and it's like that was a little underhanded,
Yeah,
so you just have to think that you want to protect your network, you want to protect your connections. I think that's really really important. It's really
I
important.
agree.
Debbie, I did want to ask you one thing. So you do this cool thing that I think I would encourage other people to do is when you are on a Zoom with somebody, providing hopefully it's a good Zoom experience. So say you Zoomed with me for the first time and you got to know me and you said, "Oh, Jillian, that was such a fun chat." What is this something that you do that is your little souvenir? And because I think this is a brilliant thing to do.
Uh, I do what I'm doing right now. I do a print screen. You know, I do a screenshot. I do ask at the beginning of most of my Zooms, unless I really know the person well, I'm just going to do it. But, you know, if it's the first Zoom with somebody, I'll ask at the end. I do this at the end of some of my coaching sessions too. You
Hmm.
know, if I can help the person, if they're in transition, I almost always do that. I'll take a screenshot and because they're not ready to post anything. And I'll say, well, let me put a post together for you. And if you like it, you can use it. But you're going to get a lot of visibility out of my network if you say yes to my idea. Okay, aside from people in transition, Mick Adam, he was so much fun. He's overseas. And, you know, we've been connected for a long time. Finally decided just have a Zoom. And at the end, I said, "Do you mind if I take a screenshot? Because I want to post about this." And it's just a fun thing to do. It's second nature for me, but it's fun, and it's also a recorded picture image of the Zoom. And I have, back in that mess in the corner, I have a folder that actually says international Zooms.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. That's
And that's
awesome.
where Jules sits. That's where Craig sits. That's where Mick is. And I don't think I've done a Zoom with John Aspirian yet, but I'm getting there.
Oh my
Um,
goodness. Well, we'll have to make sure that
it's,
happens. And we'll
it's
all be
just
looking
fun.
for the screenshot that is proof that you did it.
It's just a fun thing to do, and it makes for a super easy post, and it helps the other person and me, and they can share it. I mean, it's just a super easy post to make, you
I
know.
love that. I love that. And I think those are good on so many levels. One, it just creates like a wonderful tangible evidence that you met, and because we like to put a name and a face and everything together, so it will remind you that it's like, okay, you can go back through your images and you can see in LinkedIn, I did have a Zoom with that person, I did talk with them, whatever. So it's kind of nice that you have that sort of tangible proof. Like you said, it's a great visibility post because people like smiley faces. We do. We love when you have meetups. I know when we met up and I came and we did a photograph, and at lunch, and I posted it, or maybe you posted it. I don't remember who posted it, but somebody posted it. We all, and of course it included Kevin and you and me. And I think we even put Jeff Young in the picture. He wasn't even there, but we said he belonged in the picture. So we even created Jeff being in the picture. But these are great. We love faces on LinkedIn. We love
Mhm.
posts that have faces. So that's good to have. Plus, also, too, that might spark another meeting with somebody else, because somebody might say, "Oh, I didn't know you knew Mick, Adam, Debbie.
Yep.
I've been wanting to talk with him. I wonder if there's a way you might introduce us or something." Or the same thing, somebody could approach Mick and say, "Oh, I didn't know you knew somebody that lived in Florida. I'm going to Florida for vacation and I would love to meet somebody who is a LinkedIn trainer." You don't know what other kind of, thing that could spark. So
Yeah.
I think it's great. I don't do it, and I will do it now.
Well, good. You know what? Another tip. Um, and I make it a point now, if I'm getting on an airplane anywhere, I am going to meet somebody IRL at my destination. So we got invited to do the MBA annual conference in Chicago in October, and our buddy Don Christie and we've already arranged, we're going out to dinner. And it's not that we haven't met. She used to live here, but she's been in Chicago. She's been back home for a while, and it'll just be fun to reconnect with her. Um, and Austin's coming up in February, and I'm definitely spending a couple extra days in Austin this time. There's a lot that
Yes.
I didn't get to see last time. But I make it a point to try to meet people from LinkedIn in real life, as much as I can. It's just fun. It's fun.
And you'll never regret it. That I have to say, the best thing of when I went to England was I got to meet so
Oh,
many people. It
yeah.
was just, it was a dream come true. And then, even later, I met them at the Uplift Live conference, but then later I went and I met people and stayed in people's homes, and, just all sorts of different people and traveling. And it was great. I do see a question came in, and I want to make sure that we catch this. So Elle is saying, how are voice messages done? Techie challenged here. Maybe this topic idea for the LinkedIn guru. I got one and was, wow, how do I do this? Okay. So give the
Super easy.
quickie version, Debbie,
Yeah. So on your phone, bring up messaging, pick
because you can't do
somebody.
it. You can't do it on desktop. So that's
No, it has
might
to
be why
be
you
phone
haven't
or,
seen it.
and I've done it on iPads, but your voice sounds better on the phone. Just bring up messaging like you're going to, type out a message to somebody on your phone, and they don't make it obvious. Look for the teeny tiny little microphone to the right of the field where you would normally type. And when you touch that, you're going to have a minute. Um, you have to hold your finger down while you're recording.
Mm.
And if you just take your finger off, you get to review it before you actually send it. If you mess up, and I don't do things in one shot. Sometimes I have to do it a couple of times. If you slide your finger away, it'll cancel that recording and you can start it again. Takes a little practice when you're new to it, but it's really fun. Oh my God, it's so much faster than typing.
Yes.
And it's your voice. They get a blue line across their messaging, and that's different for people that, again, don't know that you can voice message on LinkedIn.
Yes, and they can hear it on the desktop, so they just can't respond back on desktop. So that's the only thing. If you're, and recognize that sometimes people who are on desktop, they can't respond, or unless they go and get their phone, and they might not be phone people. So just recognize that they can always text back. They'll just send you a text message back, so you can do that. And then if you want to up your game, Elle, you can also send a video. you need to use your phone to do that. Although there are clever ways to do it from the desktop, and I've got actually some articles on that. So that's just good to know that you can do video as well. And with video, you get 2 minutes. So you can go a little bit longer with video than you can go. Yeah. And then you can go, but it's 1 minute. But you can do multiples. So you can, just kind of know you can okay, pick up. And then you just keep going. And I've had like 10. I have some people.
I didn't think of that.
They'll do me like 10 in a row. So I guess the idea is if you kind of do 1 or 2, add a little context, because people are like, why do I have 10 messages? Well, because Jillian's a talker. So that's pretty much it. So I think we have reached the end of our hour today together. Can you believe an hour just goes this fast, Debbie? Because I'm sure we could kind of keep going on and on and on. But I think that the bottom line is be a host. Mm-hmm. Be a host. Have that host mentality. Think of people as people, not as, I'm just trying to, get this guy to buy. It's like, think of people as people. Sometimes they're prospective clients. Sometimes they're going to be collaborators or colleagues. Maybe they're just going to become friends. And that's okay. And just think that a comment can turn into a DM. A DM can turn into an offline meeting, like a phone call. Debbie says she does phone calls. You could do a Zoom call. Maybe if you go to their town, you meet them at the airport, you go out for coffee or something. Maybe you hop in the car, you drive, you go meet them. And you never know where these can all go. So I think this is really, really good stuff, Debbie. Any final words of wisdom you'd like to share?
Acknowledge everybody you connect with. Not enough people do that. It takes 2 seconds to say, thanks for connecting. I'm looking forward to your posts. That's written in LinkedIn messaging. I love to use the voice messaging to say, thanks for connecting, because that usually shows people something new. So it's fun. Just keep networking and keep building your network. Don't ever stop adding new connections.
I love that. That's great. Well, thank you for being here today, Debbie. Thank you to everybody who has left a comment, and just know that we will go back and we will address them all. So if I didn't show them on the screen today, doesn't mean I don't care. I just couldn't. There's too many. There's too many. I couldn't do it. But we will address all of them. And thank you for being here. And hope you all have a great rest of the month. Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.